Welcome to the assembly tutorial for our fall treat bag. We just wrapped up the Autumn in the Air SVG bundle. I'm holding probably the crowd favorite here based on your input. Beautiful little sunflower box, and wouldn't you know it, perfect timing, the dew point just suddenly vanished, and by 4 o'clock today, those brisk breezes are kind of rolling through. So timing is perfect, and today the fall treat bag, it's about 5 inches by 5 inches, perfect little quick freebie to put together if you want to give someone a little gift card, or with school starting, you want to do something nice for the teacher that's not exactly, school themed. This is a great little project for you. So we're going to start off by doing a little bit of inking, and what we're going to ink today is just the, this is actually part of the structure, and that's fine. And I wasn't sure if red was going to show up very well on this brown, but this is the little liner piece that goes inside to make it sturdier. And I just kind of tested on that, and it actually does give it almost like now with the lights on, I don't know, I would say almost like a burnt coffee bean sort of feel. So anyway, I've got my felt ink applicator, and in this case today, I usually use Mementos, but this is a Hampton Art ink pad. I think they discontinued these, so I don't use them often. It's just kind of one of those first things that I grabbed. But dab my applicator into the ink, and this is pretty much my standard inking process. I really like the nice gradient look of inking where it's subtle and not overpowering, especially on classy looking little projects like this one. I'm actually working on a haunted barn right now as kind of a side project, and it's kind of liberating when it comes to inking because you don't have to, I don't have to be so meticulous about it. I can really bring out the grunge and just kind of go nuts because it's a Halloween project. I mentioned that many times, and that holds true for even vintage projects. If you're working on like a vintage project, you know that, a lot of vintage items have some wear and tear and weathering, and that is when, for me anyway, inking with, without being so careful is appropriate. But anyway, so I'm hitting the edges here just to kind of set off the color a little bit and make it a little more interesting so things don't look so sterile. And you're welcome to do it on both sides. I'm just going to demonstrate the one side for now. Okay, but you can see the difference here. The edge just looks a little distressed, and that really makes it a little more interesting. Looking at the camera, I noticed that this side was a little light on the color, so you can always go back in and add a little more. So anyway, we have these two main structural pieces, and then we have this piece, these two pieces here, these panels that are going to go over it. So let's get these glued into place. We got one for the front, one for the back. And again, this is going to be a very quick project. There's not much to it, which is why it's definitely handy if you need a quick little bag. Okay, now this is going to go on, you're going to center it, make sure you have a nice even border going all the way around so we can see that beautiful brown that we just inked. We don't want to hide it. There we have it. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side. And I think my glue bottle is slightly clogged up, but that's okay. It's got a mind of its own. It's pretty early. I rarely film this early. So maybe the glue bottle was like, this wasn't in our contract, Leo. You usually don't start filming until after 11, 12 o'clock. It's 9 a.m., man. I gotta get more sleep. I can't work in these conditions. Okay. There's also one more little piece here, and that is actually going to go onto the bow that we're going to tie. And I'm going to hit this with a little bit of potter's clay. It's like an orangey brown. And I may actually want to go a little bit darker since this is a vanilla color. So that orange is really showing through. And there's not a lot of orange in this. Orange can play off of brown, but I may just have to hit that with a little bit of brown afterwards. But anyway, you see the inking process. It's very simple. And for those of you that tuned in for the sunflower box assembly, you see sort of a different approach to inking, especially because we have so much surface area here. So definitely make sure you check out the assembly video where I show the inking for the flower, because it's actually really fun. So anyway, all right, so we're gonna put together the structure now. And well, we'll grab one of these pieces. We're gonna start off by anchoring it to this section here. So go ahead and get your glue onto this tab and get that glue out to the very edges. Okay, now you can put this down flat and grab one side here and get that nice and lined up and centered. Make sure that you're kind of butting it up to the little score marks there. And again, centering is key. Press that down. I'm going to flip this over onto itself and check the seam from this vantage point. And that looks good. Pretty good. And my glue is not cooperating. Let's see. Yeah, that worked. Okay. And we'll take the other side and we're going to adhere that to the other large tab. There we go. Wonderful. And again, we can do that flat. Work flat whenever possible. It'll keep your projects nice and pristine and wrinkle-free, so to speak. Okay, fold that over onto itself. Check your seam. Should be nice and aligned there. And that looks good. Okay, so now we're just going to take the little sides here and get those glued to the inside of each of the, the front and the back. So we'll start here on this tab here and get that glue out to the edges. And just get that nice and lined up with that side. Okay, so that worked out nicely. This is a very, very simple process. It's very angular, so not difficult at all. And I don't know about you guys, but well, that hay fever is starting. And I've been sneezy. I think the trees and the grasses are doing something. I was wondering why they had to broadcast the fact that what are they doing? They're spreading out their pollen or something. I don't know. Thanks for letting everybody know. You're having a great time over there, and I'm just suffering with sneezing and itchy eyes. Thanks, plant. All right, so we're taking that next side, just lining it up with this edge and gluing that down. Very simple. Kind of going slow right now. Okay, next tab. I'm just getting that glue out to the very, very edge of the tab here, just to make sure that from any vantage point, everything looks nice and crisp, as if it was almost 3D printed, so to speak. Okay, we can put that down on my surface and push that down, get that going even faster. Okay, so there you can see the front. Looks good. And we'll do the same thing to the back. So one tab at a time. Just very easy. Like that. There we go. Okay. We got this tab here. You get the idea here. I think you can pretty much figure it out from this point on. And then we just have one little embellishment to put on here. I also have I have some nice red ribbon. We'll just put together just a single loop bow. Nothing fancy, because again, we want to make this project nice and quick and efficient. you know, like a 15-minute sort of deal. And you know what, I'm gonna put glue on this last tab down here as well. And I'm stretching this way too much, and I had a tab on the other side come loose. And that's what happens when you start crafting early in the morning and you're not on top of your game. You make some mistakes. And unfortunately, I don't drink coffee. Well, I do a little bit, but I don't have that as a saving grace. Okay, there you go. And you can see here, because I was pulling on it so hard, that piece just kind of came undone. So I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper and just throw a little bit of glue on here and use that. Well, actually, I'm going to put it up here. I think it's a little easier. Need a little bit more glue there. Use this to fix my mistake. There we go. And just throw that tab right behind this section here. And now, if you ever have to re-glue things, that always takes a little bit more time because that glue is not as porous as the fibers of the paper. So don't be surprised if you're re-gluing things and it's taken, you know, 2-3 times as long to really set. Okay, but that actually worked out nicely. So pretty much good there. At this point, we can go ahead and pop our little embellishment on here. Okay, so the little, oh, actually, before I forget, we do have this little piece here that I was kind of using as a test subject for my inking. Just throw a little bit of glue in the center of this, and then you can pop this right into the middle there, and that will just kind of make the base of this a little more sturdy. Okay, but anyway, so back to this project here, or this section. So we've got this little leaf overlay, and we're going to pop our glue onto this entire little element. Now this is a gold foil that I embossed with my Sizzix Tiny Dots embossing folder, and I think that's a Tim Holtz thing. Might have a little bit too much glue there. And we're just going to match that up with the little floral portion there in the center of the stem, and then also make sure that the actual leaves stay nice and centered so you have a nice even border going all the way around, and pop that into place. Okay, and this guy is going to get glued down the little flower portion pretty much where the handle meets the main meat of the bag. And then obviously we want it nice and centered on the front of this. And we're gonna adhere that with some foam squares. I think one foam square on each little petal, and then one down at the stem, base of the stem should be plenty. It's not a very big piece. Okay. And get that in place. You could glue it down flat if you'd like, if you don't have any foam squares. It's not a big deal. And actually, you know what, sorry. I'm gonna take that off and put the foam square on the flower section because the stem is actually kind of hanging off a little bit. And just pop that on there. We want it about, so this leaf is kind of going straight down. Well, anyway, that's how the design was intended. You're welcome to alter that if you'd like, but there you have it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and I'll probably just do this off camera because, well, I don't need to show you how to make a bow, but just gonna put a little bow right here where this flower part is. And then once the bow is in place, we've got this little piece that we'll put on top of it and then adorn that with maybe a gold pearl and just call it a day. And this thing is ready to go. So anyway, very quick little freebie. If this is your first time working with our Dreaming Tree files, this is a perfect one to start on. Because if you can make this, you can make anything. Because you can cut out the pieces and follow along with me. You know, some of the stuff is a little more complex, like this, for example. But, you know, we have the instructions, so you cannot fail. And we're here to help you along the way from A to Z, from point A to point B, however else you want to say it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. While you're there, hit that little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new freebie or a new paid product or tutorial. And if you make this, I want you to join us over at the Dreaming Tree group. Head on over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree group up at the top. Or if you want to type in this address directly into your address bar, it'll take you right there. So anyway, happy almost fall. It's going to feel like fall today. I'm excited. And I look forward to crafting with you again.